Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well. So today we will be starting with CSS. We would be referring this book, and as we go ahead we will try to implement the code as well. So the name of this book is it's CSS the Definitive Guide. It's by O'Reilly by Eric A. Meyer or Mayer, and this is a very famous book. So today we will be studying about a brief introduction about what CSS is and how CSS was developed. Now CSS is basically cascading style sheet. Style sheet is basically it will apply the styles to the HTML. Now CSS was first proposed in 1994 as the web browser was just beginning to catch on. At that time, the styling power was given to the user. The user could select what font family he wanted and what stylings he wanted to apply. So the US was the user was able to do this. So so it was not available for users to document the authors. All they could do is mark a piece of content as a paragraph, as a heading or some level, as a pre-formatted text. It was in this that CSS was introduced. Now, for by late 1996, CSS 1 was finished. While CSS working group moved forward with CSS2, browsers struggled to implement CSS in a very what we say interoperable way. Now what happens is, so the browser initially did not have the capacity to render the CSS code. They only used to be able to read the HTML markup. So as and when like the browser started to develop, then they started using CSS even more. And then after that, CSS3, which is basically the current version of CSS that we are using, that was introduced. It is called as cascading style sheet. Now why it is called as a cascading, we will we will learn that later on. Then inside, so it is a style sheet, because a style sheet is, for example, you have like a spreadsheet that basically contains all the rows and columns that you need for an XML document. In similar way, you have a CSS. It is called as a style sheet because it basically contains all the rules that are needed to style the HTML. Okay, now let's begin to code. Now each now the rules now how to mention a style. So each so the way to the rule to now these are basically rules, a set of rules that are read by the browser from top to bottom. Okay, and each rule as fundamental will have two selector parts. One is the selector and other is the declaration block. So the selector is basically what type of element we are selecting. For example, yours we are selecting the h1 or we are selecting the h2. So what element we have selected, we have to mention that, and then the declaration. Each declaration will be separated by each other with the help of a semicolon. So if we start writing, so first is my selector, then is curly braces. Now I'm going to mention my style. So suppose if I mention color is red. Now this is basically the first declaration, or a declaration is basically a property and a value combined together, and the next declaration will be separated by a semicolon. Then I'll put another declaration such as background, and then I will end the declaration with a semicolon. Now it's not mandatory to put a semicolon at the end of the last declaration. So once you have done that, then our browser is, so here we have hello, and you can see this is hello, and a styling has been applied to it. Now what do you mean by a selector? So selector basically indicates the rule is applicable for which part of the HTML document. For example, here we have selected h1, which is basically this element, and similar way we can do it for h2 as well. So if I say h2 color is green, so what we are basically saying is this is the selector, like which element have I selected. So I have selected the h2, which is by, this should now be this should now have a color of green. So if we start our live server, see, this has become green. On the right side, okay, if the selector were p, for example, if I had a p tag in here, and then I type hi, this is paragraph. So then in my style sheet I will just come put a p. First I need to, so the way you need to write is, first you need to mention what type of element, like which element do you want to select. So I want to select the p, this there, then you put curly braces, then you put the declaration. So I'm going to make this as blue. So again, when I open my server, this is paragraph, this is blue in color. So the right side of the rule contains the declaration block, which is made up, yeah, this is basically what is trying, the declaration block is this. Now you may have one or more declarations. Now each declaration is separated by a semicolon. Now okay, and then what is a declaration? A declaration is basically a property and a value. CSS property and a value to that property. Now the declaration block contains, okay, now sometimes CSS declarations is also made with the help of hyphens. Now this is basically browser specifications. This basically indicates a vendor prefix is an hyphen. It depends upon the type of browser that we are using. For example, WebKit, Transform, or Opera, or anything. Okay, now white space handling. Now basically CSS is insensitive to white space between rules and largely sensitive to white space within the rules. Now what he's trying to say is, suppose if I have put, okay, let's start from fresh. The first we need to mention what we want to select, and then curly braces. Okay, so now if I have a property here saying red, and then if I put a semicolon here and I leave spaces, and then I put background as green, or as as green. So now what will happen is CSS will ignore this white space, the white space which is written here. This will be ignored by CSS. Okay, so within the rules, if we have white spaces, then it is generally ignored. So what will happen is all of these white spaces will be collapsed to a single space. Thus you can so okay, so now, or all these white spaces will be to a single rule. Now we can put any number of spaces. These are just, so see, even if we do this way, like the white space has been put away. Let me just type this thing. Yeah, so what he has done is he has written color over here, and then he has put the given a white space. Then on the next line he has entered the, okay, and then here he is entering the root. So what we'll do is CSS will ignore all this, and this will be the same as writing color as red. This both are the same. The white spaces are basically ignored. So the white space are largely omitted in this. This is usually with case with CSS. Now adding comments in CSS. Now to add comments in CSS, you put a slash and a star, and then whatever written here will be comments. This will be not be read by CSS. Suppose if I have a property here saying h1, suppose if I copy paste this over here, and these are comments, so CSS will not read it. So the output will, since there is no style applied, so it will be like this will be treated as comments. These are not used. Yeah, we cannot nest CSS comments like these comments. That is, we cannot have a comment inside of a comment. Like we cannot have a comment inside of a comment. The only pattern that you use is the only thing that is you can use for comments is see, but the moment I try nesting a comment, it ignores this and takes this one as the closing block. So yeah, nesting is not allowed. Oh, so now this is multiple line comment. So for example, if I write a rule here saying h1 color green, background red, and then I add a comment over here saying, okay, if I have only one style, let me, and then here if I put the comment, and if I don't, like if I write anything here, now this all will be comment. So make sure that if now anything written here, so even if I give h to a property saying color is pink, now this will not be treated as the rule and declaration because the comment has not ended yet. So now if I end this comment here, then this will be taken as a declaration. So that is one basically what he is trying to say. Now selectors. Now one of the advantages of CSS is to easily apply styles to all the elements. This let us now there are ways in which we can use selectors. Okay, is to avoid it. Now what we can using selectors we can like specifically identify like which element in HTML do you want to apply the style for. For example, here we are applying it to h1 by specifically saying only make h1 as green, and again we can say make the paragraph specifically make it as blue. So yeah, before we add CSS, now there is another way to apply style which is not the preferred way to do it, but you can also apply inline styles as font and then make it gray. So this is a bad practice because what will happen is everything inside, suppose if we have another element here, an element nested inside it. Now this suppose if you have a paragraph saying this all the elements inside bold inside of this nesting will be gray in color. So if we check our browser, yeah, see this is the nested element and this has become oh, because here we are having a style, so let me, yeah, so all the elements in that should be gray. See, now let's make it something better. H2 elements, the tags inside all your H2 elements will be, oh yeah, oh sorry, it's font color, the HTML is not proper, so just make it color as pink. This works. Or if we give it as an inline style and then we write oh yeah, now it should work, I guess. See, all the elements have. Now why is this not applying to this inner element? Let's say that you want to make the text of all H2 elements appear gray. Before we had says we had to do this by inserting font color equal to gray. Oh, so we have to insert this tag. What he's trying to say is so let us have this font tag, and oh, this is, yeah, it is showing it's deprecated, I guess. Yeah, if we say color equals gray, I don't know whether this will render or not because it is showing it's, oh, it's not rendering. Yeah, oh, it's rendering. Yeah, see, this has become gray. This was before we had CSS. Applying inline styles using the style attribute. Okay, yeah, this is basically the inline style. And now if I have a paragraph inside it, I'm saying hi. Okay. Oh, I have to refresh, I feel. Let's, the thing is, let me start the server again. Hello, hi, okay, hi is from yours. See, this is even this the inner paragraph is also getting, yeah, see, both of them will become gray. So the problem with inline styles is if you have a nested tag inside it, the nested style will let the style applied to the parent will also be applied to the child. It will make our problems even more um, when we are trying to position things, it might become a big headache. Okay, now then all those h2 is to be green instead of gray, then you have to do manually. So yeah. Okay, and then the first type of selector that we are going to do there is with the type selector. So basically what we need to do is basically we are going to mention the element name that we want to select. So just let me remove this thing, and then here. So go here and then we are going to do which element h2, make it gray. This is going to make the fonts gray. So then we come here, this is type selector. Okay, now we can group selectors. That means what we can do is, so suppose if I want to make the h2 and paragraph both gray, so instead of writing h2 color gray and then again going and writing color gray, so instead of doing this, what we can do is we can group it. So instead of writing this, we will group it. So grouping basically what we'll do is here we'll first mention h2 and then we'll mention p. So basically both h1 and h2 will become green. See, oh sorry, gray. Okay. It applies to the reference by both selectors. Comma tells that two different selectors are involved. So this comma basically indicates there are two selectors involved. Now if we don't write the comma here, then this basically has some other meaning. So we will just remember, if you need to select two elements have the same property, we need to have a comma in between. The second alternative with one group selector is is it easy to maintain, so you can directly change in here. For example, if you are having for h3 more, and we need all of them to be like we need all of these headers to be gray in color. So instead of mentioning h2 and then mentioning h3 and h4, just mention h3 and h4 all separated by commas. Oh, I have h1 as well, so all of them will get selected. Yeah, this is set. All of them have become gray in color. And the universal selector. The universal selector is displayed as an asterisk, matches any elements at all, much like a wildcard. For example, to make every single element in a document. Okay, so what the universal element will do, it will apply to all the elements in the document. Oh, why did I remove my body? Oh, there is no closing tag for my body. Sorry. Yeah, although it will still get rendered, that is not a problem here. Yeah. This is my head tag closing here. This is okay. Yeah. Or I can again do it as HTML5. So I guess HTML. Yeah, so that's it. Now the universal selector displayed as an asterisk matches any elements at all, much like a wildcard. So what it will do is, suppose if you have h1, okay, I don't want to do nesting right now. Just need h2, h3, and h4. The moment I do this, the moment I use a universal selector, it will select all. Yeah, colon. So all the elements will become. This is a universal selector that will select all the elements. And why aren't they becoming gray? Yeah, so it basically we should not use the universal selector. Do I have any other selectors here now? Oh, I need to maybe refresh here or something. Isn't the style coming here? This is strange. Oh, let's make the let's do the background color as blue. This is also very strange. Matches any element at all, much like a wildcard. For example, to make every single element in a document. Yeah, so all of them should have a background. I don't know why it's. I have to save this. No, it's already been saved. What if I do some other tag in here? That's crazy. Let's see now. So there's no background color coming here. I don't know why. Oh, let's make the font weight. Font weight as bold. Okay, now let's see. See, even this is not getting applied here. But here it's mentioning that the universal selector displays an asterisk matches all elements. I need to open. Maybe I need to check browser dev tool what is happening with the. Okay. Let me check with this. Why is this happening? Copy, paste and go. Oh, this is some favicon that is not needed. Now let's go to style. Oh, this is basically the vendor style. Why is this is which favicon? Let me check my code again. This looks like some syntactical error that I'm making here. Yeah, this is basically having it, grouping it together. The universal selector lets you assign font weight bold to every element in the document in one efficient stroke. Yeah, it should make this paragraph bold. Okay, let's make a background color as green. Now let's see if this has any effect on our this is the body. Oh, this is by default, it's applying. Let's make this as background. And how does that work? This is equivalent to a group selector that lists every element contained within the document. Strange. H1, this is H1. It does mention there, so it shouldn't. This is H2. H3. This is H3. Oh, we are having one thing. Yes. Now let us see. Okay, this is H1. Now instead of try applying it to, for example, if I say H1 back, I say color to be green. Oh yeah, I did not add the style shit. Yeah, and this is, oh my bad, sorry. Oh yeah, see, there you have. I did not I had a new thing, right? So I did not add the styles. So if I say H1 and then if I say color is green, you see all of them have become green. This is basically a universal selector. See, styles have come. So this is indicating my universal selector. See, when you go on, I just click it, it shows all the elements here, but this is not preferred to use. Just as you can group selectors into a single rule, you can also group declarations, assuming that you, okay, yeah, so instead of having 3, you can just separate them by, I already told. Note that using the similar declaration is crucial when you're grouping them. Yeah, the browser needs to browsers ignore white spaces So the user agent must rely on correct syntax to pass. The white spaces might be ignored, but then you need to put in semicolons properly. You can also write it in one line provided they are separated by semicolons. So instead of writing this, I can also go here. I can do font. Okay, this is 18 pixels. Let's say 20. 290 will be great. Too much, and style will be. Yeah, so even if I have this, it should ignore the. I can say no, italics or something like that. See. So the white spaces might be ignored, but yeah, this might cause me a problem. No, it should ideally it should ignore it. Let's see the styles that are applied to my. Okay, go to body, go to h1. Yeah, see, you see when because I have this, space in between, and set is so if you're mentioning any value like pixel rem, make sure that there is no space in between. Yeah, and it will give you an error. It won't take it basically. Oh, you can suppose if I want to have another style, then color is either I can write it this way. Oh, see now here I need to mention a semicolon because I have more than one style, else it will give me an error. Either I can write it this way, or what I can do is I can put it in a single line, but then separated by. So this is not a very readable format. Yeah, you can read this. The code will not be vertically long, it will be breadth-wise longer. So it's better to have this covered down. Yeah, because the background is not a valid value. Oh yeah, so what he's trying to say is this thing. Yeah, this. So what is he saying is, so this will give me an color because these are two different style sheets, right? So I need to have a semicolon, otherwise this will lead to an error. Let's remove the highlight. As with selectors grouping, declaration grouping is a clean way. Okay, group everything. Okay, now we can group here. Okay, here we have grouped the selectors, so the styles inside the curly braces will be applied to h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, and h6. So this is what is basically trying to say. So yeah, it's okay. This approach is preferable to draw dotted. Oh, instead of having this, instead of using this, we can do this. You see how so these can be grouped together as one, and we can also group, and these can be grouped together in one unit. So it's a better way of doing it. Okay, now h1. Any of these the approaches will result you in the figure. Yeah, so basically here he has grouped, I guess. This approach is preferable to be drawn alternative. Okay, so yeah, what he has done is he has not grouped here. This is h1 color gray, h2 3, h3. Oh, so this is group 1, this is group 2, and group 3. So what he's trying to say is all of these three. So see, he has grouped this. Also these two can be grouped, like h2 and h3. So these two can be grouped. It should be over here. Okay, I see. This is grouped. And then what I can group is h1 and sorry, make this as yellow, h3, h4 and h1. These two and the yellow colors can be grouped. So yeah, this is h1 and h4. This is the yellow color thing which has been grouped, yellow matching yellow. Let's make this as pink. Pink matching pink, and B from gray, background white. You know what? The background thing also can be grouped, right? For example, I can have background white here, and on this, okay, these three backgrounds together. I just need to highlight this. Highlight. Okay, three, and this can be grouped. So basically, I will have h1, h4, and B somewhere grouped. So I have, yeah, h1, h4, B. See, grouped as green. And then what else can be, grouped here? Anyway, okay, similarly these two is gray. So yeah, this though I have already, yeah, so h2 and h3 I have already mentioned they can be grouped. h2, h3 is gray. Okay. So far, this is basically grouping elements, so nothing serious. So far we have been grouping selectors and declarations together in a variety of ways, but selectors we have been using a very simple ones that refer only to document elements. At this point, since we don't have a much longer HTML, so it is very easy. Okay. In addition to type selectors, CSS has class selectors and ID selectors that let you to assign styles based on the HTML. So no, in addition, CSS has ID selectors and class selectors that lets you assign styles based on HTML attributes independent of the element type. So instead of mentioning h2, we can use the class. So here basically, for example, say a document contains multiple warnings. You need each warning to appear in bold-faced text, and however you don't know which element. Oh yeah, now see, class and ID selectors become very important when we don't know which type of element are we using, whether it is an h1, h2 or h3. So irrespective of that, based on the class we can select it. That's what he's trying to say. You want the warning to appear in boldface so that it will stand out. However, you don't know which element types contain this warning content. Some warnings could be entire paragraphs, while other could be a single item. So you can't define a rule using any of the type selectors. That's what he's trying to say. All paragraphs should be read, not just the ones. Oh yeah, and one more drawback is, suppose I have more than one paragraphs, like this is warning. I need this to be green, but then I have another paragraph which says this is CSS. So I only want this, I only want the warning ones to be in red, I guess he's mentioning somewhere. However, you don't know which type of, some warnings could be entire paragraphs, while some could be a single item. Suppose if I tried this, what will happen is it will select both the paragraphs, but I don't want that. I only want the paragraph that has this is warning to be selected. Yeah, I can do it practically as well. Suppose if I do font weight bold, and then if I say color is red, so when I open my browser, you see both of them are getting selected, even though we do not want both of them to get selected. Yeah, this is a very bad technique. So instead of that, what we can do is we can use class. So what we can do is I can say, okay, give this as an attribute and say class warning. And now when I come in here, instead of mentioning this, I just need to mention the class name. So that will apply to the class, to my warning class. To share the strings of a class selector with an element, you must assign a class attribute with the appropriate value. In the previous code block, class value of warnings assigned two elements. The first is, yeah, so what it's trying to say is here I have assigned warning to this paragraph, and then again, oh, this span is also what is this in here? This is also warning. The class of warning. We are looking about this element. It is assigned to two elements. The first is the paragraph and the span element. To apply the standards to these classes elements, now how should I use? Oh, so to apply this, you can use a compact notation in which the name of the class is preceded by a period. So in front, so preceding is basically this part. Oh, I don't know why it's not getting selected. This is the class, and in front of this, I don't see that change, right? When combined with example markup shown, this has the effect. This illustrates the class selector works by directly referencing a value that will be found in the class attribute. This difference is always preceded by a period, which marks it as a class selector. This period helps to keep the class selector separate from anything might be such as a type selector. Oh yeah, but because if we do this, then it might think, if you don't put this now, it might think that this is a type selector. So we need to differentiate. Okay. Now the selector matches. The period helps the class selector. Okay. This is, so I'm saying that or you can also do this. So what this mentions is p dot. So basically I'm saying the paragraph type that has a class type as warning. Select that type. This is the element and this is my class. The selector now matches the p elements that have a class containing warning but no other elements of any other kind. So this one element does not have a paragraph, the rules does not match it. Oh, now we are only specifically applying it to so yeah, if we mention this, now it will be only applied to, even though we have a span tag in here, even though we have a span, yeah, even though we have a span that has a class warning. Now the CSS won't be applied to this one because we have only mentioned the paragraph p, which has a type warning. Okay, doesn't match it won't do that thing. Okay, that's okay. No, okay, and then when he similarly is doing for the span thing, so okay. Okay, another thing about class now there are specificity, there are rules. How should we yeah, with the universal selector, and then the warning will have the same effect. The universal selector will select all the instances where we have warning. It will follow both all and then warning. Okay, now use all generic and specific selectors to combine styles. Okay, now what should be a class name? Now they should never begin with a number. So for example, if I come here and I write 1, So this is an invalid. Browsers will allow it to get it, but the CSS validators will complain. You shouldn't. You should write, and yeah, it should always start with the. Although the browser will identify it, but still it's not the preferred way to do. And also, if you must refer to classes that begin with numbers, you put a backslash between the period and the first number. Yeah, put a backslash here. But again, as I said, we don't generally name classes by numbers. Like, we don't start it with a number. I don't do this. This is a. What do I have? Yeah, don't do this basically. Don't do this. Very bad. Oh, yeah. So now what we have, suppose we have multiple classes. So I have, oh yeah, so now, okay. So multiple classes are basically classes spaced by a space apart. This is class 1. So I will write this is class warning. Okay, and then this is class urgent. So we have 2 classes now. So so both the so the styling on this will be both of them. So yeah, basically if I do, yeah, so I'm not, right now we are not talking about conflicting styles. We are basically trying to avoid conflicts here. What if you have written both? So top to bottom, I guess it will work. And then now if I write color is green, so it will have both styles. Let me see. See, this is, the font is bold, and then I can say it font weight 100. I guess this is not the correct way to do it. Let me check if it's going. Oh yeah, this is not the correct way. Okay, let's make it bold for the time being. Say this is bold, and let's give it a, yeah, this is bold, and if you remove this style sheet, yeah, it will be only high. So both of them will be applied. Okay, this is urgent warning here. Now in any order we can say, I guess the order of the word doesn't matter. Remember here, the order does not matter. So, oh no. Oh, so yeah, what is trying is, if I want to, do this, and if I want to do this, order does not matter. Although we might have written here, suppose urgent first or warning here, that is what it's trying to say. Yeah, it won't make any difference here. See, he is using urgent and warning first, but he's using it this way. So yeah, order of this does not matter. And then a name that is not in the space separated list, the match will fail. Okay, this happens because the order in which the words are written in the source document this doesn't matter. This is not to say the order of the classes is always irrelevant, but we will, yeah, but now, so now right now it's not important, but then as we get ahead to deciding, we will check this thing out again. If a multiple class selector contains a name that is not in the spaced separated list, the match will fail. Okay, you might expect the selector will match only those p elements in the class containing a space separated words warning and help. Therefore, it will not match with just the words warning and other in class. It will match the following. Oh, so what he is saying is okay. So now all of if a multiple class selector contains a name that is not in the okay. So here I am having multiple selector and I am using elements of class containing the space separate words. And okay, and I'm only using paragraph warning and help. This might not work. You see, this is the difference. All of the three should be there: urgent, warning, and help. No ID selectors. No ID selectors are similar to class selectors, but a few differences. First, ID selectors are preceded by hash sign, commonly called an octothorpe, also known as a pound sign. Yes. Tic-tac-toe board. Instead of a PD, okay. Have I gone to it? Okay. Okay, now this rule produces. Okay, this is basically an ID selector. How I would be mentioning it in my CSS. This one produces broadly find an element whose ID iterated as a first product. Instead of referencing the class attribute ID, selector will refer simply enough to values found in ID attributes. Here's an example of ID selector in action. Let's try this as well. So I have P. Now I'm going to use an ID selector. So I'm going to do ID. And then I'm going to maintain. No, this is not mandatory. It should be a number. It's basically a unique identifier. So this paragraph. Now because we have mentioned this as an ID in my CSS, the way to refer to this is hash ID, then parentheses, then the color. Oh, sorry. Hash ID, no. The name I have given assigned is lead para. So I have to come here, do a backspace here. Oh, missed L. Yeah, lead para. The lead para could have been assigned to any element in the document. In this, it is applied to the first or anything. The third difference is that a document will have only one instance of a given ID. Oh yeah, so I could not have to multiple make it a class for okay. Now this, yeah, but if I wanted to have this ID here as well, this is not possible. What if I say this is lead? Just remove the class. The value lead para could have been assigned to any element in a document. In this particular case, it is applied to the first paragraph. But we could have applied it to okay, this is okay. The third difference is that a document should have only one instance. Only one instance. If you find yourself writing to apply the same ID to multiple elements, then use a class. So suppose here, let's see what happens. You see, it's only getting to this element, not to. Oh, I made a mistake. It's selecting both of them. I don't know. If you find yourself wanting to apply the same ID to multiple elements in a document, make it a class. It is possible and very much known to omit the universal selector from an ID selector in this. I'm not sure about this thing. If you find yourself wanting to apply Same ID to multiple elements in a document, make it a class. Only one instance. Why? But this is taking. I have two instances. My document is mentioning HTML. If I'm wanting to apply the same ID to multiple elements in a document, make it a class. Why? This is something not able to understand why he's saying. This is. We'll mark this as pink thing. Okay, we'll see that what happens if we do again. As with class selector, it is possible and very much to omit the universal selector from an ID. The lead para font weight is bold. Yeah, just have the hash. When you have certain ID value to the current document, you do not know the element type. For example, if the markup as an ID, so use the ID. Section. Most important color red, black. This rule will match any of the following elements. Yeah, so he has used the ID multiple times. Oh, so what he's basically trying to say is an ID is basically the meaning of assigning an ID is basically to identify a single particular tag. If we have the same ID over three, although this will work, but then the whole essence of assigning and so ID is basically like an identification. For example, how in class you have roll numbers assigned to students for a specific ID. Like every student will be given a specific identity card that basically marks an individual student. The same way, what he's trying to say is instead of having instead of using it instead of using this multiple times, although this will work, but then the essence of ID is gone. That's what he's trying to say. So each ID must be unique in a document. Yeah. Oh, we have understood this now. So remove the habit. Must be unique. Now then, when to deciding between a class and an ID. Now when should I use a class? Okay, so you may assign classes to any number of elements as demonstrated, and it should have applied to more elements. ID on the other hand should be yield once. So give it an ID selector. Unique identification and classes for many. That's according to the HTML. Therefore, if we have an element with ID value of read, but they also will have that, because then it parsing HTML becomes, it doesn't make sense, right? Semantically, it won't make any sense. Semantics is basically the way you have documents. I mean, you have header, footer. These are basically semantics. Anyway, noted CSS does not carry for HTML but not. It should find, however, many elements a selector can match. That means if you can sprinkle some elements, all of which are, you should get the same style. Yeah, same style will be applied. Having more than one same ID makes the DOM scripting more difficult. Oh, so this is basically about JavaScript. Yeah, when we are targeting elements. So we will see this later on. Unlike class ID, selectors can be combined with other IDs since ID attributes not permit to say separated. Or we cannot have two IDs as space separation is not allowed. For example, in class you could have another class over here as, oh, what happened, as urgent. So we could have, these are two distinct classes, right? One is class warning and second is class okay. ID cannot be two, it has to be single. Because that's not HTML. Okay, unlike classes, ID selectors cannot be combined. This is okay. This shouldn't really be done. ID selectors cannot be combined with other IDs. Not permit. Yeah, space separation is not allowed. Yeah, unfortunately, you cannot do it space separated. The ID selector can be combined with itself. Should be rarely if ever done, but we won't be doing this anytime. So IDs carry more weight than determining. Oh, this is no. This is when we have multiple, like when we have a type selector, we have a attribute selector. So this is basically mentioning which CSS will understand which styles first. Also, rational define class and ID is to be case inside so that the oh yeah, remember class warning and warning are different. Even we capitalize the first one, it's different. So if you go into CSS, even if I just make this warning here, so right now the CSS, it shouldn't work properly. Oh, get this thing up. Oh, I have to add it right. Yeah, see, this is CS, this is warning, this is not getting, it's not working here. So if we go on here, you see there is no styling applied here. Now if we go and make this small, then it should work. Oh, let's add a color as well to make it more. Have a semicolon here. Warning urgent. I have misspelled it or something. This is warning. This is urgent. Oh yeah, space. Don't add space, please. See? There shouldn't be any space, as I mentioned. Just mentioned over here while mentioning multiple classes. See? We need to chain them. Yeah, this is very mentioned about the space thing. Okay, then because of the select, now see, now it's selecting. Now let's make it warning capital. You see, this is default style that has been applied by the browser itself. So now we need to make this as okay. Oh no, because of the change of the class, okay, this is okay. On a purely syntactical level, the dot class notation is not guaranteed to work for XML documents. As of this writing, the dot class notation works in HTML. Yeah, so this, oh, so when we are dealing with extensible markup language, for example, if we are doing Android development or something like that, then that won't work. Yeah, this will work in HTML, scalar, SVGs, and other possible things. Okay, and it will be permitted in future languages, but it's up to which language specification beside that. It will be working. Okay, this, yeah. So when you are using, so in this summary, what he's saying is, it's basically, I need to add a note. Class does not work in XML. ID works everywhere. Okay. Attribute selectors. Now with both ID and ID selectors, you are really doing is selecting the value of elements attributes. The syntax using the previous recently in particular to HTML, SVG, documents as in other markup languages. This class and ID selectors are not available as indeed. Okay, now in other languages, since there is no this, so then in CSS2, attribute selectors, this we have done that. Simple attribute selector, for example, H1. Now the following markup. Yeah, just select. Okay, these are 4 general types of attribute selectors: exact attribute, value selector, partial match attribute, and value selectors. Leading attributes. It's a simple attribute. Suppose if you want to select, this we have already done. For example, to select an H1 elements, we have a class attribute with any value. Make their text similar. This is H1 class with any class. Oh, this is not mandatory to mention this parenthesis. Even if you don't mention this part, it will all select all the H1s. We need to select all H1s, so you can put this is not mandatory. This is the first method that we learn to select. No, wait, something is missing here. And we have that have a class attribute with any value. Oh, so what it's doing is only this will be working, I guess. Also, yeah, this is basically having an element and attribute. Two attributes are these. This is an attribute. Anything passed inside the HTML is an attribute. So okay, he's using this along with the H1. Now this is used in XML a lot. They have tend to have element and attributes. Yeah, it is used in XML. If you want to select all PML elements, the moons. Okay, this one calls the text. Okay, so what he's saying is, now when I have this, so this is the class, this is the element. So PML planet with the class moon. Yeah, both of these will be selected ashes. In HTML documentation, you can use this feature in creative ways. For example, you can style all images that have alt attribute. Okay, this particular example is anymore. Yeah, we won't do this practically. Now suppose what I have more than 2 attributes, so I'm using an element and an href and a title. So now I need to check. Similarly, you could only this purpose is generally more useful if you wanted to boldface any element that includes title information, which most browsers display as a tooltip when the cursor hovers over the element. You could write this title font weight bold. Oh, so this is basically universal selector. So all elements that have an attribute title will be selected. That have an href attribute. Just applying it. Okay, this is basically a type plus attribute. So, for example, to boldface the text of any HTML hyperlink that has both. Yeah, so as I said, both href and title. A selection based on exact attribute value. Only compass whose attributes are certain. Or you can mention the exact attribute in here. Okay. Again, I don't think so we would be using this one. But yeah, it's just good to know. So this is the exact attribute that is going to get matched. Okay. Okay, now we can do selection based on partial attributes as well. This is nice. Also here is written both classes. And this is if I were to write planet type equal to barren, the rule an exact match is needed. Yes, this is important. So instead of that, we use a class maybe. Yeah. So I have type equal to barren and rocky. This is true for classes attribute HTML class such as when handling plutonium. This only this element, yeah, we need to oh yeah, so he's using the class attribute. Yeah, we need to have all of this. Yeah, but then here I guess it should be exactly matched. Like we cannot even change warning and urgent, the order. They should be exact matches of each other. Okay. They should be exact matches. Remove highlight should be the option. Yeah, exact matches. This and this should match exactly. Selection API elements with the words in that order. See, remember this. Some behavior ID selectors and attribute selectors target ID attributes that are not precisely the same. The parallel, sometimes you want to select now selection based on partial attribute values on the portions of the attribute, not the entire attribute. For example, okay, use a tilde sign, I guess. Oh, what happened here? Table 1 shows substring matching with the attribute selector, so he's using a part of. Yeah, okay. This is basically, having part of it mentioned over here. So so yeah, this star will indicate any element that an attribute for whose value contains the substring. Which substring? This value contains the word bar in a space separated list. So this basically this tilde or the star is having some specific meanings here. So instead of writing the entire attribute, we just need to mention a part of it. Okay. Yeah, so basically a substring thing, kind of. Also, yeah, so anything that has .gif, something like that. Oh, now this is something very important. This was again the part of the string thing, right? Matching a substring at the beginning of an yeah, okay, you can match it. Note, you might have noticed that all the attribute values case insensitivity. Yeah, I before a class selector will have okay. This basically there should be a dollar sign that indicates case insensitivity. But then this is a part of an attribute. Oh, now using the DOM structure. So what if we have nested elements? So it is not possible to identify all the keep on giving classes to all of them. especially when we have a list and then we have, so the thing is, instead of give the upper one as something high, and then let's write this as list, and then let's have a div inside here. Suppose we have 3 divs. So instead of giving these 2 divs the classes as well, you can just use the list one, or the tree will be having list as the parent element and these 2 are the child elements. So and remember, these 2 are the direct descendants, so we can write this as go to a class, or first go to the class dot list and then all the div inside those, just give them a you see, this will have become pink. This is basically descendant. See, this is the same thing that I was talking about. Now you can do anything, so it will be, remember we need to go down to this last element, so it will be list and this and this and this and this and this and this. Yeah, it will now, this will select all the EM descendants, no matter how deeply nested this may be. Basically it will select the descendants. So one overall aspect of descendant selectors is that the degree of separation between practically infinite. If you write ul em, now where is em here? The syntax will select any em element descendant from a ul element, no matter how deeply nested the em may be. Thus the ul another list will select the em element in the following. The certain aspect of descendant selectors is that they have no notion of element proximity. Yeah, so it basically needs to be a descendant. It's not compulsory that it has to be like a first child or something. So what if we have a P and then inside we have a div? This is still li descendant. How would you spell it? So if you go back here, yeah, see. The most subtle aspect of descendants and selectors is that there is no, in other words, the closeness of the 2 elements. Which, now this is basically specificity, okay, which contains colon not. This is the negative pseudo class. Okay, this is okay. Now, so we do not want to mention. Okay. Now see, the problem with this is how much how deep inside is. This div will also be a descendant because it is besides inside the list. Now we don't want this to happen. Instead, what we want is, suppose we only want the direct children. Yeah, so if you only want, then we will use with a combinator called as greater than arbitrary descendant. So we do not want to select an arbitrary descendant element. Neither we want to know your range to select an element that is specifically a child of another element. By this is what it's trying to say is, if you want to select the direct child, I mean if you want to select, if you want to suppose this is A and strong, I don't want to select the child of P. I want to select the child of A. So for that I can use this greater than sign, I guess. Yeah, P greater than A. So just match with this A and strong. So basically selecting a specific specific, what do you say, specific child, so specific descendant. Now remember, all this is based on the DOM tree formation, how the elements are nested in the HTML. Let's say you want to style the paragraph immediately after a heading. To select an element that immediately follows another element with the same parent. Okay, it should be after. For example, if I need, so if I see here, and if I need to style the div, this is after P, I can just use the plus combinator. Now CSS not to work, CSS requires 2 elements. Yeah, it should work. Now we should have at least 2 elements in the same order, remember? Yeah, we need, yeah, so as I said, this will be based on the DOM. Now selecting following siblings. General sibling combinator lets you select any. Oh, this is what he's trying to say, so we can combine both of them. So general combinator lets you select any element that follows another element, both element. Okay, yeah, here it is basically, it should be after descendant, but here, so here what he's doing is H2OL. The 2 elements do not have to be, yeah, here this, they have to be adjacent siblings. Only then it will work, right? Oh, so this is not the correct explanation for this. This should be an edge. So for example, this li and this li. Also, this has to be inside. Here it is adjacent, right? So P has 2 children, 2 divs. Both of them are adjacent. But suppose now I don't want to have these adjacent things. I just want to, any element that follows another element when both elements share the same parent. The parent should be the same. So I can select any element. What's the difference between, oh, this will only have adjacent. These need to be adjacent. What if this is nested again? Then this won't be an, what is, I have a div and a div. This is inner. Yeah, so this is H2. This is an ordered list. Yeah, for when I use plus, they have to be an adjacent sibling. But if I use this, then it will be any siblings. No need to be an adjacent one. Okay. Yeah, so we will be ending here. That's all for today. Thanks.